So this is where I keep all of my sewing patterns. I have this little bin that usually sits by my sewing machine. It's the patterns that I am interested in making currently. I desperately need some new pants and some tops, so I went through and pulled out ones of interest and the correct sizes. I have that, and currently have a stack of period costumes out because I am going to be in an opera in the spring and I am going to make my own costumes. I have these completely separated out. I mean, there's one drawer that's kids and crafts, and these patterns basically go back to the mid 80s. I mean, I have it pretty much sorted out from newborn, which this I made Charles's christening gown from. And my mother used this pattern to make Trisha's christening gown in 1989, so that gives you a time frame. And I have them in order by size. There's a variety. Some I've made, quite a few I have not, but I gained access to them at some point or other. This is my daughter's bridesmaid's dress when I got married the second time. And that's just, patterns my kids picked out, but we never got to. That's a little bit of everything, but I have them in size order. And then get back here, and from here to the back and here to the back is all what I define as crafts. So there's home decor back here, hats, lots of hats. I'm a hat person. And in front I have all these apron patterns. Some of them, like this one, was my mother's. There's another one in here somewhere. I mean, it's fun actually seeing how some of the patterns have been redone. Like this is a pattern from the 80s, but I have the identical pattern from the 60s. My mother's favorite pattern. In fact, the very first thing I ever sewed was this one in blue gingham. Still have it. It's horrible, but it's the first thing I made, so I kept it. And then from here, all the way back to here are all purses. I mean, you name it. There's little basic bags. I made that for a friend. There's backpacks, which is always great to have. All sorts of ideas that most of them I haven't done. I have a few favorites that I just keep doing over and over again that are actually in my fabric room at the moment. Kind of how things happen over time. And then back here is all doll things. My mother made these doll outfits for my sister when she was in kindergarten or first grade. And that one. And we just have all sorts of things that I've accumulated. Most of these, like from here to here, these are all American Girl 18-inch doll patterns, that style. Especially, I always pick up the smocked ones, but my sister likes the dolls, so I picked up patterns for her. The original McCall's Raggedy Ann and Andy, my mother made dozens of these big dolls over the years. Just all sorts of little stuffed animal things, some of which have been made. Quite a few have not been made. Back pattern my mother got but never made. Original Mary Poppins from the books, not from the movie. But it does say inspired by, which is funny because it doesn't look a thing like the movie. It looks just like the book doll. And now it doesn't want to go in there. 1 second here. Sometimes envelopes don't like to behave. And I do like to be nice to old patterns, because you can't easily replace these poor little things. I mean, look at that cute pattern for the boot. That's so cute. So, I don't know who made it. My mother must have gotten it used from somebody else. But here's this one. I love this. I made dozens of twin doll babies for friends and used to sell them at craft fairs. Had 2 different outfits, and then the little carry bag with the bed in it. Kids loved it. And then I have 1, 2, 3 drawers of costumes. You name it, I have it. I mean, there's your European ethnic costumes, to be politically correct. And yes, of course, I have the lederhosen to go with. A lot of what I refer to as fantasy costumes, because they're, it's kind of a historical one, but just the stuff that's based on silly movies and Star Wars and Star Trek and that kind of stuff, not my thing. And then here back is all your historical, just random. I love these patterns by McCall, because you can basically interchange parts. It's great if you do costuming for musicals, for stage productions, stuff like that. And then I start out literally around, 1,080 costumes, and then I go up to current time period. I mean, I used these patterns for Robin Hood back in 2001. That was made. I used that for Maid Marian. They did not fit well back in the envelope, so I had to bag them. Use this for all the peasants of Sherwood Forest. Use this one. I used this for the sheriff and also for the bishop. I just pardon the phone swing there. Sorry about that. But I start at that one time period and I just keep on going. You've got the 1400s, 1500s, and a very large amount of 1700s, especially late 1700s. I am absolutely in love with American Duchess. Her Facebook and her Instagram and website are the bomb. She does historically accurate stuff, which I like that. That versus some of this other stuff. I got this one to do a copy of Hamilton costumes. And of course I have both sizes, because I never know what people might want. And I always pick up men's costumes because I have been asked to do reenactor costumes for guys. Had to pick up all the Outlander costume patterns because I love Outlander. It's okay. But so many awesome, get back to the early 1800s. Next drawer down, boom, pick back up in the 1800s. I've used this one where I altered it to actually look more authentic. Was hired to make a cannonball guy who fires the cannon, the cannoneer's uniform. That was fun. Did that out of multiple wool years ago. Now the mid-1800 patterns, which thankfully I have not made. Someday maybe, but it's so much fabric and I don't like that much. Curtains for a dress, anybody? I've used these. I have made Belle in adult and child size. I used this pattern. This pattern, I made it for Trish when she was about 6 years old, and now she's 30. So yeah, it's been around for a while. I've made umpteen of these for different musicals because they're more accurate than a lot of the patterns that they were selling at the time, like that. Yeah, no, sorry, ladies, that's not how they looked. I made this one for Annie Get Your Gun. Did this jacket for Bill Sykes in Oliver. Love this pattern. It is so bloody easy to make, and it'll make you fall in love with doing men's costuming. That was McCall's. This Simplicity pattern is almost identical. Same style. Got a lot of, this is pretty much all steampunk back in the back here, which, steampunk is kind of turn of the century, 1900s. And then I've got, you know, early 1900s, switched to the Edwardian period. Sorry, I keep going offline here. Hats to go with the dresses. One of these days I'm going to make one of these and wear them up to Biltmore. Care to do a Downton Abbey? Well, I've got it. You name it, I have the patterns. The hats. The roaring 30s, 40s, 50s. I love the 40s and 50s, especially the 50s. Their dresses were just so gorgeous. I don't know how many poodle skirts I've made over the years, but it's been a ton. Did a couple of hippies at one point. And then it just kind of gets into the sex pot patterns, which I think are adorable, and I can't resist them, and I can't walk away from them. Cheerleaders, you never know when somebody's going to want you to be a cheerleader. And dance wear. I really dislike sewing dance wear, but I have been called on to do it, so I have it. I can say quick sew patterns are the best when it comes to dance wear. That's that one. And down below, these are all silly costumes, for lack of better words. You name the Disney princess, I've got it. And some of these are super ridiculously old. Some of these are definitely from the 80s and 90s. I worked at a fabric store back in the late 80s, early 90s, and when we threw away patterns, it was help yourself. So I have some that don't have the actual envelope. They're copied. But I have all the stuff in it. That was Mickey and Minnie. That was back when they did these patterns. And they're awesome patterns. It's a shame they don't make them anymore. Updated superheroes. I like this one. Lose weight. I want to do that one. This has been used a dozen times because it's just felt. And felt patterns are the best for dress up for little kids. I made dress up patterns for my hats for my nephews at one point, and they wore them for years, and then my sons wore them. So it was great. Yeah, just a little bit of everything, and yeah, I've got a whole bunch of different Santa outfits, which it's cheaper to buy Santa from Party City than to make it yourself, so... The original Simplicity allowed Wizard of Oz patterns. I've made this thing for my daughter many times over the years. And every time I turned around and sold the costume on eBay for close to $100, which was very nice. But yeah, that's those patterns. And then what I do, this one, the top, I have, there's juniors, outerwear, sleepwear, skirts, jumpers, pants. And yeah, some of these are like fairly new. That's a fairly new pattern. And then, yeah, that's fairly new. But that one, this one was from about 2000. This one was my mother's. She made that umpteen times. I don't even know how many times she made this. It's before they put the date on the patterns, which I like that they do that now. But yeah, I believe that's a 1960s pattern because she had it as long as I can remember. Can we say shoulder pads in nightgowns? It's a really comfortable pattern. Yeah, outerwear, I have capes, I have jackets, I have a little bit of everything you can possibly think of. Next one is formal wear, workout, and dresses. Still have to file a few things that I bought. I love this. I think it looks so comfy. Nothing like an oversized sweater dress. I basically needed a pretty dress in my style. And this has that vintage look without being actually vintage, and I like that. Some of the patterns I have in here, oh my goodness. I mean, most of the store is formal / wedding, which, you know, you have your basic sequin sheath dress. The Pick Your Design did that for a couple people. Made that for a lady. But there's... I made that one for the premiere of The Patriot in green silk satin. That was the bridesmaids' dresses for my wedding in '95. And that was one of those tossed in the trash patterns that I thought was too cute. This was the pattern I picked out in high school because I knew when I got married I would want that. By the time I got married, it was like, ugh, nope, 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 nope. This is the pattern I picked out for my wedding dress, but I found the dress, the almost identical dress, for a lot cheaper than making it, so I cheated. Then I have lots of maternity patterns. Like being pregnant 4 times, you make a lot of maternity clothes. I mean, these are definitely late 80s patterns. That was such a comfy dress. Made it out of challis, rayon challis. It was so comfy. It's one of those dresses you hated to give up wearing just because, you know, you birthed a child. But I've got things, and, you know, there's all sorts of... Anybody remember gunny sacks? Yep. I have the patterns. I made this one for a musical not too long ago. We won a regional costuming competition because of those. All sorts of, you name it. I mean, you name the time period. That was one of the first dresses I ever made. I made it out, it was one of the fancy stores in the mall was selling this dress, and it was blue with white polka dots with the white bolero jacket. And it was like $70, $80, which, you know, this is, we're talking like 1988. No, 1990. And I made it for like 20 bucks. I was like, yes. Made me happy. It's all, I love the Project Runway patterns they used to have because they're just simpler, great instructions that you can then alter to however you want it to look, which I am all about. Just take a basic pattern and change it. And I have, these are men's patterns. Lots of different kinds. And then the oversized patterns, because for some reason people just can't make all patterns the same size. Looking at you, Vogue. I mean, there's some really cool patterns that I absolutely love. I made this one out of burgundy embroidered taffeta. It was gorgeous. Did this skirt for my first musical I was ever in. They don't sell these anymore, but I used these on my youngest 2 kids. Made a lot of stuff with them. And then I have a lot of smocking patterns here, and heirloom style, and with the little rompers with the smocking plate in the middle. Lots of smocking stuff. And then in the very back, I have my time period patterns that are all accurate recreations of existing clothing, which I just absolutely think is fabulous. Truly Victorian is pretty awesome. They have all sorts of neat patterns. They are not cheap. However, they're worth it. And they have every single bloody size in one pattern. How cool is that? I love that. Get myself a hoop skirt bustle at some point. And then the bottom drawer starts out with the heirloom smocking magazines. AS&E, Australian Smocking and Embroidered. Beautiful pattern. These magazines are fabulous because they come with, you know, you have full pictures of it, then directions, and the patterns are in here too. So you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 patterns for, It was like, it was about $20. But they're absolutely gorgeous outfits, and I've made so many of these over the years. But yeah, just in the middle, it has the patterns, and you just copy them out. And I put these in, all of these magazines, into plastic covers to take care of them, because I don't want anything bad to happen to them. But let's see, I think this is one. Yeah, I've done this one. So here I put the pattern in the side, and then there's the tissue paper copies that I made. I made that cover dress for my daughter when she was a little bitty. But now she's 22 and I can't smock for her anymore. And lots of, I've got some sewing magazines here and lots of quilting books. Anybody want some quilting books? I'll be happy to sell them, get rid of them. So that's basically my pattern stash and how it all works.